Here we go. Welcome into the show. We're off and running. This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Senior, and as always, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. As the Niners prepare to play the Arizona Cardinals on the road in Week 11, we have a lot of injury news that we need to get into here. Coming up over the course of the next several minutes, health updates on quarterback Brock Purdy, wide receiver Ricky Pearsall, and wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk. Niners general manager John Lynch was on the radio this morning, and he had a lot to say about those three players on your screen. And let's begin here with the face of the franchise. What is the latest on Brock Purdy going into this Week 11 tilt against the Arizona Cardinals? Both teams pretty banged up. Will Purdy be banged up in this game? We'll see. As we know, he suffered that turf toe injury back in Week 1, returned Week 4. He's been out since. Mac Jones, in his absence, has gone 5-3 this year. What a valuable signing he's been in free agency, especially at that price tag. And on Wednesday, Kyle Shanahan said Purdy was limited aggressive. The Niners really like how he responded and performed in that practice. And so you look ahead to Sunday, the hope and expectation for the Niners is that Purdy will be able to make his return against Arizona in his home state as he grew up there. Now, in the two starts for Purdy this year, been a little bit of a mixed bag. This goes back to last year in 2024 when he turned the football over at a pretty high rate. This season, completing less than 66% of his passes in those two starts, 586 yards, 4 touchdowns, 4 picks. So the turnovers continue to be a little bit of a lingering problem carrying over from the 2024 campaign, and the quarterback rating, 85.8. Was he stellar in Week 1 against Seattle? No, but 6 for 6 on that game-winning drive. And then against the Jags, he clearly wasn't healthy, couldn't plant his foot or drive his throws, and so that led to a lot of overthrows and turnovers, and that's why he hasn't played his best football so far this year. But what's interesting is that I think a lot of people have forgotten about the fact that Purdy, since coming into the league in 2022, when he was the third stringer to start the year, Trey Lance got hurt, Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt, then he came in that Miami game, he has been the most efficient quarterback in football since his rookie year in 2022, ahead of Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. And I know that last year was very frustrating for everybody involved, right? And at times late in games, Purdy tried to play hero ball, and he doesn't have the requisite arm strength to try to make some of those crazy throws to be the hero. And he forced the issue a little bit late in games when the Niners were down, and context is always important. San Francisco's offense had so many injuries a year ago. There was no continuity, which led to a lack of rapport, but he was still a very efficient quarterback in 2024. His lowest quarterback ranking in his career as a starter, number 7. His highest in 2023, number 1. Now, with Mac Jones, what's been incredible about what he's done, his number 1 wide receiver has pretty much been Kendrick Bourne. George Kittle missed a lot of time. Jawan Jennings, in and out of the lineup, hasn't played well this year. No Ricky Pearsall for the most part. No Brandon Aiyuk, of course. And so that's why I give Mac so much credit with this ground game having an inability to really get going and be consistent for playing the way that he has. And so I'm very interested to see Purdy with that chip on his shoulder coming back to see how he looks on top of if he's going to be 100% or not. And that brings me to this. My concern is this with Purdy playing in this game on Sunday and moving forward. If he is less than 100% and he is hurt, is he better than a healthy Mac Jones, who has played very well this season? I think another part of this conversation is this, that if the Niners did not give Purdy this offseason $265 million on that mega contract extension, would he be playing in this game? I think that's a fair question to ask. He's probably feeling some pressure for wanting to play because of how well Mac has played and him getting that contract. He wants everybody to know this is my team, and it is his team when he's healthy. And the Niners are like, we made this investment in him. We think that he's our franchise guy. At some point, he's got to play, even if he's not 100%. Now, here's what General Manager John Lynch said about Purdy. We've been pretty consistent. This is Brock's team. When he's healthy and able, he'll be back out there. I think he got off to a good start with that yesterday, talking about Wednesday, We'll have them both ready. If Purdy shows his health and his ability all week, then he'll be out there on Sunday. And what a job by Mac Jones to go 5-3 with Purdy sideline with this nagging turf toe, which is obviously a very complex and a pain in the ass type of injury. If something does happen to Purdy, he gets re-injured. San Francisco, we know, can rely on McCorkle, who is top 10 in the NFL in passing yards per game this season. Nothing to scoff at. Quarterback rating, 97.4, 13 touchdowns, 6 picks, 2,100 yards. He's resurrected his career. He's also been very accurate, completing about 70% of his passes. Again, what a huge pickup for the Niners in free agency this past offseason, and you've seen why Kyle Shanahan really liked him for his scheme in the pre-draft process going into the 2021 draft. Still to come here on the show, more injury updates and insight on Ricky Pearsall and Brandon Aiyuk. We'll go wide receiver heavy coming up here in just a moment. But first, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for the best Niners coverage year-round here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. Anytime that I'm in front of a camera on a microphone, I want this coverage and this content to be insightful, informative, entertaining, thought-provoking. I want you to have a voice, and that's a big reason why this platform is so big and so great, and why we've reached 3 million people every month, each month, since the football season started. And we're closing in on 180,000 subscribers. Help us get there, lock us in, and hit that sub button right now. This episode of the 49ers Report is brought to you by Prize Picks. The hard-hitting football action, even better with Prize Picks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right, it never gets old, man. So keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. This is America's #1 fantasy sports app. Join the millions of users. Sign up today. Prize Picks puts their users first. All withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. I know you all know ball. I want you to show me. Turn your takes into cash with Prize Picks. It's also the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Christian McCaffrey's receiving yards, rush yards, and touchdowns. Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. And you know we're going back to the well with the more on the Christian McCaffrey receiving yards. It's been a steady winner all year long because he's been an all-purpose stud. George Kittle, more than a half rushing or receiving touchdown. Both those hit last week. And then Trey McBride. Cardinals are very shorthanded at wideout. I think he has a monster game. These Niners linebackers have struggled to cover tight ends too. So more than 67.5 receiving yards for Trey McBride. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. So as far as Ricky Pearsall and Brandon Aiyuk go, 2 talented wide receivers who are both nifty route runners. They have such clean and nimble footwork, and they both have skill sets that if they can both come back and both be healthy at the same time, I really like their complementary skill sets. Because of the route running and the strengths that I talked about, they're both explosive players when they're healthy, but they both have an ability to beat man coverage and zone coverage, especially when you pair their skill sets up with how Brock Purdy plays, with the timing and the anticipation, and how Kyle Shanahan designs the offense and calls plays and draws plays to get his receivers open. Here's what Lynch said about Ricky Pearsall, who hasn't played since week 4. Ricky gives us something different. He gives us explosiveness at the receiver position. He gives us speed, the ability to get down the field. He's a precision route runner. Ricky has done a really good job in his rehab. He was out there at practice yesterday like Brock. He had a really good day. Let's see if he can finish the week. It would be great to have him back out there on Sunday. It certainly would, John. I agree with that because Ricky Pearsall to start the year was a top 5, top 10 wide receiver in football when you just solely look at the production and everything else that he was able to do on tape. And clearly, he popped on the eye test. And in big-time moments, he had some big-time plays. He was targeted 29 times and caught 20 of those passes for 327 yards and 81.8 receiving yards per game. Like Purdy, Pearsall is also an Arizona guy, played at Arizona State before he went to Florida, and so a homecoming for him and Purdy, and I imagine they're both going to have a lot of family members in attendance. And then we round out with this. This has been a big question all year long. Is Brandon Aiyuk going to play for the San Francisco 49ers this year? His practice window has not yet been opened. He tore up his knee on October 20th, week 7 of the 2024 campaign. So we're about 13 months outside of that injury. But the key here for Aiyuk that I think a lot of people have lost track of is the fact that he tore 3 ligaments in his knee. It was as bad of an injury as you could suffer. It wasn't just a clean ACL tear where sometimes nowadays with medical advancements and training methods, players can return in 9 to 12 months. This was a really awful and severe injury for Brandon Aiyuk, especially for a wide receiver, considering what you have to do to get open and to be an impact player in this league, cutting, running full speed, putting a lot of pressure on that knee. And so Lynch said this about BA. The intention is to get Brandon back. We're not there yet. We just got to get him to a place where we're comfortable opening that practice window to see if he can make it back on the field. That is the intention. But we'll see. No absolutes there. And hopefully Aiyuk does not have a redshirt year. Now for me, I would not be surprised if Brandon Aiyuk doesn't play this year. He doesn't want to risk his future NFL career. The Niners obviously want to be very conservative and show discipline with getting him back. They want to make sure that he is healthy. BA also hasn't been the happiest person with San Francisco. If he gets hurt, that could impact any type of trade value he could have after the season. And the Niners might be to a point where they would like to deal him. And so I think all of those things are important to consider. Like with Purdy, though, what I said earlier, a lot of people have forgotten about how great and elite Brandon Aiyuk was. I mean, he gets drafted in the first round out of Arizona State in 2020, and he got significantly better every single season. 748 yards as a rookie, led the team. 2021 started the year in the doghouse, ended it hot, 826 yards, 5 touchdowns in those first 2 years. In 2022, he plays all 17 games. He goes over 1,000 yards with 8 tutties. And in 2023, ladies and gentlemen, he was an all-pro player. 75 catches for 1,300 plus yards. He was number 2 in the league in yards per catch, the second highest graded wide receiver in football, and had 7 touchdowns. Then he earned that contract, and in 2024, he looked out of shape. He looked at times disinterested. I'm not sure how that can happen when you're making $30 million per year. He didn't play well. 25 catches, 374 yards, and then against Kansas City, took that bad hit to the knee. We haven't seen him since. For a stretch run for the Niners, with how important it is, I think, for them to hover around 30 points per game to give this defense more margin for error, and Aiyuk return alongside Ricky Pearsall, a healthy George Kittle, a healthy Brock Purdy would be nice for this Niners team. Don't forget to give me a follow on X and Instagram, by the way, at Chase_Senior. We're reaching millions of people here on YouTube, and I'm reaching millions of people covering the Niners every day on my personal pages as well.